Welcome to the Lowdown Podcast, the show where we dive deep into the topics that directly impact the evolving originator. I'm your host, Connor Bartley. Bam! And joining me today is an incredible leader in this industry, a great advocate for veterans. She's active in the coaching community, and she's your mortgage mom. Leslie Bergen, welcome to the Lowdown. Well, Leslie, it is absolutely incredible to have you here today and an honor to visit with you. I know you're going to bring a ton of value to our Lowdown listeners. And we've known each other for years, this is fun to kind of have this moment now. And it's just been really great communicating with you. You're always very genuine and helpful, even to me, which I appreciate a ton. And I've just admired your commitment to the veteran community, learning more about how you coach others in this business and lift people up. And you've even made some comments in the past about building a board of directors around you. And those are all things that I'd love to dive into today. But before we do, let's get some context for our listeners. And just, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about you, Leslie.
Awesome. Hey, thank you, Connor. I am so thrilled to be here. And you're right. It's not very often that you befriend recruiters in this world. And so I met you, I want to say it's 5 to 7 years ago, probably.
It's been a long time, yeah.
Yes. So great to be here. I'm really honored to be your guest. I am a long-term mortgage person. My husband says I can't tell you how long because it makes me sound old, but it is 42 years this year in the mortgage industry. But I started when I was 12, so that everybody can know that I'm still very young and hip. And I got into the business by accident. You know, it is about, at that moment in my life, it was finding a job. I was a newly married person and trying to find a career path and fell into mortgage. I think a lot of us fall into mortgage. I don't think anybody really thinks growing up, okay, I'm going to grow up to be a mortgage person unless their family is in it. But it was a very interesting job. I started as a receptionist. I moved into loan processing back in the day when mailbags of processing came in. So I'm really dating myself and learning how to process loans. And through that, you learned how to speak with people. I decided I really love connecting. I love people. And so I always wanted to be a loan officer. And so through my career, I became a loan officer. So I've done a little bit of everything in the mortgage industry. I've done appraising. I've done some audit, some pre-underwriting, that kind of stuff. But I really love being an advocate for my buyers. And that's kind of how I've landed in this role because I feel like being an advisor and somebody who's trusted for your community is so very important. And that's what's made me really focus on my veteran families because it's a very transitional move and they need to be connected. And so I really love serving them in that way.
Love that. And now, so you made a couple comments. You mentioned maybe getting into the business through family. You've been in the business a long time now. Do you have any other family members that have joined you and are kind of in the mix now?
It is a total family deal for us. But my husband and I are partners. My husband has been in the business now about 20 years. He doesn't originate, but he keeps all the wheels on the bus. And then my daughter works for us, and she is one of our top processors. She's the backroom girl that keeps everything going that way. And for a few years, my son was a loan officer for us. He has now changed career paths, but has done really well. So it's one of those things that when you're immersed in it, I think you tend to speak a little bit of the language and you always kind of try it out. Sometimes it's for you, sometimes it's not, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I love running into folks that it's like a family affair. You see that it's not uncommon in the business anymore, or maybe it never was uncommon, but to your point, there's just a lot of people that accidentally end up in mortgage.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, it's not a career path that is common, but once you find it, I mean, the thing that I really love about this industry is how much people love it.
I think you don't know how much you're going to love it till you've been in it for so long. And to me, I can't even think of another career path that I would ever want to do because it ticks all the boxes for me. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. You have relationships that are ongoing. You're able to really make a difference in people's lives. Seeing joy in families come together in their first homes or even maybe their 10th home isn't a powerful, powerful gift that we are given in this industry.
It's really cool. So, at what point in your career did you realize I'm pretty good at this?
I think that's an ongoing thing, right? I mean, if you talk to any seasoned originator, I mean, I've been through a lot of the seasons, but the last 2 years have been probably some of the most challenging years in our industry. And I think even though you think you're really good at it, and it has been different, it has been a different season. And I think that's why we've seen so many people leave the industry, that they've lost their mojo or they feel like they've lost their mojo. And I'm going to tell you, hey, keep at it, keep trying. I want to be the hope dealer for those loan officers saying, hey, it's going to turn around. It's a season. It is a season, and you just have to invest in yourself and really keep your mindset positive, because people right now want to deal with people who are positive. And if you're that beacon, they're going to be drawn to you and they're going to trust you and they're going to be your person when the time is right for them.
Yeah. So, how would you, or what would you suggest to an originator that's in that struggle mode, on how they would plan for 2025? And we don't have to get into real specifics, but just, I know that's a big part of how you operate, in terms of a framework or something along those lines. What suggestions would you have for someone who's just trying to figure out, what am I going to do next year?
I think the most important thing is to have a very in your mirror, face to face kind of down and dirty conversation with yourself of, where did you succeed? Where are you struggling? Who are you hanging out with? Where's your mindset? I'm a girl of gratitude. I come from that place of gratitude. Every day I'm thankful. No matter how hard the day is, I am still very thankful, because the right people are coming into our lives, and it's what we do with it. So we can't take our garbage and put it out there to our customers. We have to be the people that are positive and hopeful, and knowing that the market is going to change. It has changed. I can tell you examples after examples after examples. It changes. Has this one been a longer season than we anticipated? Yes. But what you're doing to prepare today is going to be your success for Q1 20. So if you're not preparing right now, you're not going to have an instantaneous year next year. You've got to plan right now. And I think it's about who's your board of directors. That's really important to me. Who do you trust? Who are the people that are helping you and guiding you and encouraging you and coaching you and even just befriending you? Like, who are your friends? Who are you hanging with? Because when you're with the Eeyores, you tend to get to be an Eeyore. And then pretty soon nobody really wants to hang with you, and it's a gloomy, gloomy day every day. And then pretty soon that's going to really start affecting your life, your business, your family, everything. And so you really got to really push yourself to be in that positive place.
So, how frequently should someone do like an audit on those relationships? Is that something that you reflect on quarterly?
Yeah, ongoing. Yeah, ongoing
Yeah.
for sure. Because I mean, you can have a great person. I have people who've come in my life who are so important to me, but a season changes. Maybe they retire, maybe they move away and they're no longer in the business, or they're not in a business anymore. I mean, there's people that are in your life, your family is your board of directors, and I get that, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who really have influence on you. I have a small board of directors. I still have openings, so I'm still looking for some slots, and it changes because the seasons change and what you need maybe changes. And so like one of my number one board of directors is my accountability partner for the last 3 years. His name is Brian Sewell. He's an originator out of Illinois. He's a fantastic human. And we have that honest relationship where we can call each other out and we can push each other to the next level. And it is something that is incredible. If you don't have one, you should have one, because it is very life-changing. And those people who will tell you when you're wrong. I think it's the hardest thing to be having people in your life that have permission to say, I appreciate your viewpoint, but you're wrong. And that's a board of directors, not somebody who tells you you're fantastic, not somebody who tells you you're perfect. And it can be a coach. You can actually have one of your coaches in there. I have a lot of amazing coaches in my life, and I'm super thankful for that. But you have to be somebody who's willing to put hard people on your board of directors that will call you out and say, that's not right thinking. That's not right thinking.
That's such a great point to make. If you're surrounded by yes people, then how will you ever know if you're headed in the wrong direction? And
100%.
shout out Brian. That's awesome. And, I'm just curious. So, how do you, I mean, he's in Illinois, and I imagine some of your other close personal board of directors aren't in your local area. So,
Right.
how are you connecting with these people? Where do you find them?
So that's a great question. Brian and I met 3 years ago at Cindy Ertman's MME, and it's a coaching platform. And he was in MME as well. And we were partnered together as an accountability partner for like a quarter. But we were so similar in our vision, in our faith, in our focus that it just was something we kept going. And so it's been almost 3 years, I guess, since we've stayed on our Thursday morning accountability calls. And it's something that you just know. You know if that person's going to push you and if that person's going to align with you. Because if they're not aligned, you then will drift. And when you drift, you're no longer accountable.
Right. So you guys meet weekly, it sounds like.
We do.
And I mean, where are the areas that you are staying accountable? Is it in how
Gosh,
you're
so many things.
prospecting or
So, one is your mindset. I think it is all about what are the stories you're telling in your head. And if you're a loan officer right now, I bet there's some doozies that are going on right now about whether or not you're valuable, whether or not you should continue to do this or not. And I'm going to tell you, you need to throw all that in the garbage. And you need to remember that you're gifted. And if you are passionate about this business, then you need to surround yourself by really positive people. And people, there's so much free stuff out there. I mean, what you do here is incredible to be positive influence for loan officers. You've got Dave Savage, who does the Trust Engine. You've got Denise Donahue. You've got Cindy Ertman. You've got Shayla Gifford. You've got all this YouTube information to help you stay in that mindset. And if you aren't pouring yourself into some of that, just saying, hey, how can I always be learning. I always tell people I'm Gumby, and I know that dates me too. But, it's like I try to be very flexible on what needs to go. And in this market, you need to be able to pivot. You need to be able to say, okay, that didn't work. It's okay. Let's try something else. And I also think not limiting your market to just your backyard. And that's something that COVID did for us, is being able to say, hey, it is now an open forum for us to go figure out, where do we connect better? I mean, sometimes your backyard is awesome. I'm very blessed in that I'm able to go outside of my backyard and do a lot of business outside of my city. And I love that. I think it's great to be able to connect with people, and don't limit yourself. As a loan officer, do not limit yourself to thinking that you may have a season in your city that maybe they're not moving so quickly. Maybe inventory is really down and you're really struggling. Then think bigger. Go bigger. You're not just licensed in your city, you're licensed in your state. So go somewhere else. And if that state isn't enough, then go to a different state, get licensed in a different state.
right? I think you make a really valid point around community. COVID certainly changed the game. We got to this work from home environment, and that's very comfortable for a lot of people. And I'm not saying, work from home is bad. I've been doing it for 7 years, but it does sort of remove people from that culture of community, collaboration, having people to bounce things off of. It's simple to fall into that suffer in silence mode where you just go internal and start to get in your head and hit those lulls. And when you don't have someone to pull you out of it, it can get very dark. It can get very bleak in that mind. I mean, I think statistically 80% or more of our thoughts are negative.
I think that's very true. But I always tell my team, you can have a bad moment. It's usually not a bad day. It's
Hmm.
usually a bad moment, but you can't live there. You can't live there. You have to move out of the dungeon and back to the light. And what you said is very powerful. When you're alone and you're sitting just in front of a computer and we're not even seeing face to face, if you've ever done a Zoom meeting with just the black boxes, it's so hard to do that because you're not seeing any reaction. You're not seeing, are they listening? Are they getting it or whatever? I'm going to tell you, it's up to you. It's up to you to take the step out. Introvert. I believe it or not, I'm an introvert. And so it's very funny. People go, "No, you're not." And I go, "Yes, yes, I am." But so one of the things when I'm having a funky day that I will do is first is I'll write 3 or 4 thank you notes to somebody, because you cannot be in gratitude and be in a funk. So you can't be thinking about yourself, about woe is me, if you're being thankful on paper. And so that's a trick that I do. And if you know me for very long, you know that I'm also one that will reach out. So if I'm in a funky mood, if I'm not feeling positive, then I'm going to do 5 or 10 text or phone call messages to reach out to people to be an encourager to them. And the reason I do that is it takes me out of my funk. Because when you give value to someone else, you are no longer self-centered and talking and feeling about yourself. And then the other thing is do something for somebody else. So I promise what you're feeling, all your realtors are feeling as well. All your builder partners are feeling as well. So why don't you start something positive in your community? Do a book club, do a mastermind, do something where you can get out and shake hands and kiss babies with people that you know are in this industry to help you get out of your funk.
Yeah, I love that. I've just this past weekend, I really am going to start doing this more. But we were driving, my family and I, to do some shopping, and we're going about 30 minutes away. So we're listening to the radio, and I just said, when a new song comes on, let's all think of who does this song make us think of, right? Or who do we think would love this song? And I think that's a great way to get out of a funk, is just put on some high energy music and then have that thought in your mind, like, who would like this song? And then, hey, why not reach out and say, hey, I heard this song today, thought of you, I hope it brightens your day, and then just move on. But you're totally onto something there. I mean,
Love that you do that, because I'm
yeah,
a
you
music
can't
girl.
you can't stay in that, negative frame of mind, and finding a way to think about others in a positive way really does reframe the way you go about the rest of your day. And one of my kids hear me say this all the time: the best thing about a bad day is it always ends. Their bad days are zero for whatever in terms of the next day, right? They always lose.
Next day, next
Yeah,
opportunity, right?
next day, next
I
day.
love music. Part of my morning ritual is I have a playlist. And so my morning ritual is just, and it's a random, so it skips. But when a song does come up and it makes me think of somebody, I always forward it to that person right then,
That's great.
because music is super powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, it communicates really well with other people too, right? Like, hey, I was thinking about you when
Well,
this
you
song
never
came.
know the impact you had on somebody else unless they share that with you. But I can't tell you how many people say, I don't know how you knew
Yeah.
that I needed this. And
Yeah.
it's so powerful to be thinking about others instead of yourself.
Yeah, that's
You
really
can't
great.
stay in
So,
your funk. You can't stay in your
yeah.
funk if you're thinking about other people.
Yeah. So I would imagine, with your mind in that place, that you can translate that way of thinking over to clients, referral partners, and just day-to-day relationships that you have within your business. What are some things that you're doing to connect on that level with your referral partners, clients, things of that nature?
I think probably one of the most successful things I'm doing is I'm really leveraging myself as a second look lender, especially for my VA loans. A lot of lenders have, VA overlays, although they don't really advertise that. And, VA doesn't have a minimum credit score. VA doesn't have, debt ratios per se. It's a residual income deal. And there's just a lot of value in a VA loan. And so many people are turned down because of the company's overlays, not because they can't get approved. So I'm really working to leverage myself outside of just, through all the states that I'm licensed in, on, hey, just let me have a second look. I call myself the hope dealer. I'm the hope dealer that can reach out to them. Now, it is hard because when you've been turned down, they're in a funk. And so your job as a loan officer is much more challenging, because you have to listen to their story. You have to pull more out of them. You have to have them agree to trust you, for a time being, to give you the opportunity to see if there's a way to make the loan work. And I'm very successful at it. I'm very successful of turning no's into yeses, and I love that feeling of being able to see those families celebrate Thanksgiving is my favorite season, and I love Thanksgiving time to be able to say, hey, look at all these families that are sitting around their tables this year because we actually gave them hope.
So you mentioned VA. What's your tie to that? Do you have a family tie to the veteran community
I
or?
sit in El Paso, Texas, which is like a very large military base. I was born and raised here. My husband was in the Air Force. My
Okay.
father in the Army, my grandfather in the Navy, my brother in the Navy.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of family in the military. But really, what has made me passionate is our city and being in this business, meeting families. It's how I got my mortgage mom title. Is somebody called me the mortgage mom one time, and it just stuck because my husband and I would be the partner to that military family coming in because they come in knowing no one. And we had a couple of them that were coming in and spouses were deployed elsewhere and they had little children and they had no one to watch them. They would call us and I'd be the mortgage mom that would go and babysit while they could do a night out on the town or in the middle of the night if there's a problem in their home, they know that they can call us and we'll go over there and check it out for them. There's nothing worse than not having somebody you trust, to call. And so we really try to make those connections a very deep connection with our people and that's what's made me get licensed in other states is because I want to follow them when they go elsewhere. And so I think it's just being intentional. I think sometimes we can get into that funk of being an order taker, name, social, birthday, blah, blah, blah. How much do you want to spend? Da, 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 da. And we don't stop and listen to their story. And that's one thing I love to hear in my military families is their stories and, what are things that are hard because it's a hard life to be moved around a lot. It's hard to make friends. It's hard to build community. And so if I can be that one connector to that family, to me, that is a great privilege. I mean, they served our country. It's an honor to serve them back.
Yeah. So I know the VA loan has a lot of misconceptions about it, and it's not always thought of as anything easy to do or things of that nature. Is there any advice that you would give an aspiring loan officer that wants to serve their veteran community in their area more on how to overcome some of those misconceptions or just how to help more veterans?
Well, one, read your guides. If you've never read the VA guide, please read them because there's a lot of stuff that we're told. We are people that when we work for a company, we're poured into what those guidelines are. And then if we change companies, we take those biases with us to the next company. And you need to ask more questions and sit with your underwriter, sit with your VA underwriter and say, hey, do we have overlays? Because there are company overlays of debt to income ratio or credit scores or what have you. And so you need to know that before you're out there selling. But if your company is a direct lender and doesn't have those overlays, the truth is read the guidelines because there's so much opportunity. I mean, we've closed loans with a 420 credit score before or a 500 credit score before. Because again, VA cares about the story. And please don't write your veteran stories, let them do it. And putting together the why things happened and how they have recovered is part of our job to help guide them through that process. One of my favorite people is Jennifer Beeston, and I don't know if you know Jen, but she works in the business and she's a great advocate for veterans and she does a lot of communication out there about serving and second looks and stuff. And I love that because we have to come from serving when we are representing our VA guide people. We have to be those people who say, yeah, I'll do a second look for you. I'm the person that I'll call your lender that you're working with right now and tell them, hey, if you do this, this, and this, you can get that loan approved. Why? Because they can close it in 2 days versus 8 for me. And it's a better service to the realtor, the seller, the buyer. Now, sometimes loan officers don't like someone else telling them how to fix their problem. And so then the loan ends up coming to me and we fix it and we close it. But I think if we come from collaboration and we come from serving, I said nobody wants to be sold, they want to be served. And so if you as a loan officer want to capture that, you have to build that trust in the community. You have to build that reputation of doing the right thing all the time.
That's great advice. So Pivoting slightly, we've talked a little bit about how you're in the coaching community. And how did you get involved in that to begin with? Were you a student who showed interest in coaching, or kind of what's that journey like? Because I know there are people out there that are considering being coached. They think maybe it's something they want to do, but maybe don't know where to start or where to look. And so what could you share with that originator that's kind of in that mindset right now?
I think if you're a leader in this business, you are a coach. And as Shayla would say, you're a catalyst. You're somebody who helps people find what brings the best out of them. Some great coaches helped me put together my values, why I do what I do, and they helped really get that clear. I've coached for a long time, but one of my most meaningful coaches was Cindy Ertman with Defining Difference. And she was super kind to me. And when I finished the session, she said, have you ever thought about coaching? And so that's kind of how it came up as part of an opportunity to really become a coach to other loan officers. One of the biggest joys for me, if I could do it full time, I would, is pouring into loan officers and showing them just a little tweak sometimes will make a huge difference on their success, certainly their mindset. There's no magic in coaching. There really isn't. It's just being around positive people, having systems, tracking everything, and having somebody hold you accountable. And so I think there's very strong value in coaching. And I think if your budget allows, then you should absolutely interview and hire a coach that serves you. If you are struggling budget, which is a big deal right now, then find yourself somebody in the community. It doesn't have to be at your company, but that is willing to be an accountability partner. Look at their numbers on MMI, and say, hey, because they should be doing better than you. Your accountability person should either be equal to or more than you.
Yeah.
Because that way they're going to push you and elevate you into the next level. I will tell you, everybody right now needs an accountability partner. And I think we all struggle with ones that will be real with us.
Right. Yeah. Would you say that that's really a key differentiator, or maybe the place to start if you're genuinely trying to grow and evolve, is find somebody that you can count on to shoot you straight, to tell you that that's great, that's dumb, and really just to have a good, honest conversation with?
Absolutely. And I think it's about asking the right questions. I mean, I don't think social is maybe the place I would start, although you can get to know some people. Look on the YouTube people and to see who people are really giving a value and giving back. There's people you're going to connect with because of their type of business, their heart, what they do. You have to have very like values. Your coach has to align with what you're trying to do. Otherwise, it's not going to be successful, because nobody's going to be able to strong arm you into success, to go willingly and do the work and be willing to be told you're wrong in your thinking. But I think there's a real struggle today just in the financial aspect of it to be able to invest in that, because it is very much an investment. A coach should bring you value to where you're going to make more money. But I think it's really important to start somewhere and just be real with somebody. And sometimes a great realtor partner who's very successful, but maybe not in the best place today. They need help, and they're great accountability partners. I mean, it doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah. So 2 things that you brought up there, though, that I really want to drive home for the listener is find someone that, aligns with the way that you operate. And one thing that I've really appreciated about this business is that there is no one path to success. I've seen so many people do things so differently and still have tremendous success. And a lot of it is just about what clicks for you, how do you operate, and where are you going to operate at your peak. And so finding a coach that will pour into you in those ways is great. And then 2, on the budget end of things, you made a comment about this way early on in our conversation about all the free resources that are out there on YouTube and podcasts and on social media. I mean, even just knowing who the coaches are, there's a great opportunity to follow them,
Yes.
shadow them almost, and learn through osmosis. Now, you're not going to get that accountability piece of it from them, but you could find someone else and both of you follow along. And so there are some ways around it. It may not be the most popular among the coaching community to hear me say that, but I think
That's a good start. I'm going to tell
great
you
start.
that investing in a coach is absolutely worthwhile. But
I
you
agree.
can't say, make my house payment or pay my coach. You can't be in that place financially. You know what I mean? That is not good stewardship. So we want you to really be ready. And so if that's a goal, maybe that's a goal, summer 2025. Maybe that's your goal, is to be able to hire a coach in summer 2020. Well, that doesn't mean you coast the first quarter.
Right.
So do the other stuff to find out who aligns with you, because when you interview a coach, you should have a laundry list of what I need, what I'm looking for, what do I want to get out of this? Because a coach should be able to bring out of you your greatness. I mean, you already have greatness in you. It's just about how do we find that and give you that confidence to go out there and conquer.
Yeah. All great stuff. Leslie, I'm so appreciative for what you do, and the coaching experience that you have has really shined through even in our conversations. You've helped me with some scripting here and there, and have helped me kind of see things in a different perspective. And so I always value our conversations, and it's just great knowing you. So I want you to know that I appreciate you a lot.
I feel the same, because
And
I don't think every recruiter's the same. So I feel like it's, you don't usually become friends with your recruiter. So I do appreciate the fact that you do give value outside of trying to recruit. And that's really important too. So it's a win-win.
well, thank you. Thank you. So let's wrap things up. I prepped you for these. I always like to do a little bit of fun questions at the end so we can get to know people on a different level. It's always great to hear the business side of things, but we're people. We're well-rounded individuals. We got other parts of us that that we enjoy and things that we like to do. So I ask everyone these questions, so we try to keep it the same. Question number 1. What is a favorite quote that you have from a movie, a TV show, or a song lyric?
So I really, really did some deep dive research trying to figure out, do I have one? I am not a big TV or movie person, so
Okay.
sorry about that. But I love music. I do love music. And one of the things that I'm probably very boring to a lot of your people, but I mostly listen to Christian music and or
Boring at all.
old time music. But my favorite quote right now, I've got two favorite songs that I'm on repeat. One is Somebody Prayed by Crowder. And he says, I believe anything can change when somebody prays. So that was a very powerful thing. And then The Voice of Truth, which is a Casting Crown song, which I love. And that just really reminds you that you got to get out of your own head about whatever has happened poorly in the last year. You need to be focused on what has happened well and what have you done well, and be really positively focused and listen to the truth rather than the garbage.
Absolutely. Well, and listen, the power of prayer is undeniable. So
Amen.
I love that. Okay, what is a hidden talent that you have?
I really struggled with this one too, because I'm still discovering that. I really love to cook. I really do enjoy creating new recipes, although you'll have to ask my husband if he enjoys them. And I really just I enjoy music. I'm a music girl. I wanted to be a music major originally in college, but realized you can't make a living at it. So I do love music. So I think that's maybe something that, I don't know that it's a talent yet, but maybe a goal.
Yeah, I gotcha. I gotcha. Maybe learn an instrument or something. I'm right there with you. My degree is in fine arts, so I was a theater guy.
There you go.
Here I am, mortgage recruiter. How'd that happen? I don't know. Okay, so maybe I know where this next one's going. If you weren't a loan officer, what would you be doing?
If I took where I am today and I wasn't a loan officer right now, when I'd be a coach or a trainer or somebody to help people in the business. But if I'd never been a loan officer at all, I'd probably be in some kind of ministry or philanthropic type place. I love giving back and I love connecting people. And that's the place where I find my most joy.
What is something a skill that you've always wanted to learn how to do?
I'm going to say play an instrument, maybe piano. I always wish I could sit down and play piano.
Yeah.
I did do the obligatory, piano lessons as a child.
Yeah.
but I did not ever master or continue on with that. It's funny how it just life never changes. If you want to be great at something, you have to keep practicing, even in being a loan officer.
Yeah, I did piano lessons too. I did one recital, and I remember being so nervous waiting for my time to go on stage. And there was another kid who got my song was Hot Cross Buns.
Very good.
And there was another kid from the class whose song was the alphabet song, A, B, C. And I thought, oh, that kid's got it easy. All he's got to do is just play 26 keys in a row and he's done. And
Funny that whole perspective.
yeah. And yeah, that was, I just remember, Hot Cross Buns is only 3 keys. And I didn't know which ones they were. So I just went out there and picked 3. And I don't even know if I picked the right ones, but I knew it was 3. I knew which order to play them in, but I have no idea if I did it right.
Find a recording. We need to put that on your podcast.
Oh yeah, yeah. My mom tells the story all the time because I would hit one key because she said, make sure to smile for the audience. So I would play a key and then look up and smile, and then play the next one and look up. So yeah, that's for another day. Okay, last question. What is something that you would love to make a comeback that was from your childhood?
I'm going to say playing outside. And that because when I was young, we'd get lost for hours. I mean, we would just, our whole rule was come back before dark, so as soon as the light started going on in the neighborhood, we had to get home. And that worked really well until our parents moved to Alaska. We moved to Alaska for 5 years. And in Alaska, it does not get dark until like midnight.
Right. Yeah, sometimes never, right?
We came dragging in at about 11 p.m. because we were just really tired. We kept waiting for it to get dark, you know? And so our first time, our parents were like, where have you been? Well, you said come home before dark. But yeah, so Alaska, you need to be very clear on your expectations with your children.
And that was when you got your first watch, right?
Yes, there you go. But I think kids don't get to play anymore. We're doing too much of this and not enough out there and using the imagination. I mean, you always had play clothes. You'd come home from school, you'd have to change into your play clothes, go outside, and you had play shoes and what have you, and get lost. Get lost and have this great imagination. Go knock on the neighbors' doors and get lost in their backyards and stuff.
I loved being able to. I loved knowing where my friends were because I could find their bikes in yards.
Yep.
And just be like, oh, Johnny's here, or whatever, and just dump my bike and knock on a door.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that, and then in a basic thing, I think just being kindness and respectful. I really miss those, those times where everybody was really respectful and kind, even if you had a different opinion. Yeah.
Well, amen to that too. So, so thank you for joining me here today, Leslie. It's always great talking with you. I'm so glad that you've come on here so more people can hear your voice and the things that you have to offer and share. And I just appreciate the wisdom and I wish you nothing but the best in the future. And maybe I'll do this for a long time and we'll have you back another day in the future. But thanks for joining me, and it was great talking to you today.